Hey guys, I just wanted to pop on here really quickly before we get into the rest of the video. This video was filmed a couple weeks ago before everything had happened, but I knew that it was my next video being uploaded and I had to jump on here just to say thank you. Holy moly, thank you so incredibly much for all the love and support on my last video. It obviously has been a whirlwind of emotions and just a roller coaster of a time, really. And I knew I needed to jump on here and say thank you. You guys offered so much support, so much light in a dark time. And I honestly can't express the level of gratitude and love and everything that I'm feeling. You guys are an incredible community. And I wanted to share and open up with you guys. One, because it's happening in my life, right? And it would feel weird to come on and act like everything's fine and just talk shit on the internet when my life is in chaos and feels like it's crumbling around me, because that's what it is. And in comparison to this video today, like, my problems seem so minor and so silly, but it's not. It's really just a scary time right now. And given the state of our economy and the rental market and the everything that's going on in the world right now, I needed to jump on and say thank you guys so much to those who felt pulled to donate to us, to help us out through this, because ultimately this is my job right now. This is what I have as income, and it's been working, but now things are shifting, right? Everything's so much more expensive and it's just, we don't need to get into it. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. I truly wanted to jump on here because it would feel so silly to me to not jump on and address all the outpouring of support that we received last week. And I can't honestly express my gratitude. I knew you guys were amazing and I knew you guys were going to be super supportive and offer kind words and encouragement and all the things and share your stories for that sense of solidarity. I knew that was going to happen, but I didn't expect so many people to want to jump in and help us out and everything. That wasn't even the goal of the video, but I am obviously so freaking grateful for anyone who felt pulled to help out in this time, because yeah, it's scary, and I said it in the video, I said it in my comments. I know it's not on you guys to fix this. Obviously, it's my life, it's my shit that I have to deal with. It is what it is, but the fact that so many of you guys were drawn and pulled to help out is just, it means the world to me, and I can't ever thank you guys enough. To those who have, even to just those who watched and offered kind words and supportive words, like, thank you so much. It definitely helped with the feeling of being alone in all of this and getting out of that and getting out of my own head and all the things. So thank you so incredibly much. You guys are an absolutely phenomenal community, and I'm so grateful for what we're building here. Even just seeing you guys support and love each other in the comments and just offer kind words to each other too, it truly is amazing, and I can't express how grateful I am to have you guys in my corner and to just be able to vent to you guys too and stuff like that. So to those that watched that video, that donated, that just offered the kind words, anything, thank you so incredibly much. I am just feeling really loved and really grateful, and it's obviously hard to put into words because I'm just circling around myself at this point, but I needed to jump on and express some level of gratitude that I could put into words, I guess you could say, because you guys truly are a phenomenal support and just an incredible community, and I couldn't be more grateful. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. It is going to be a heavier one, so I'll end this here and just get into the video, because yeah, I have nothing else to say, and this is just getting awkward at this point. But Thank you guys so much. I truly, truly appreciate you. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel where I call out influencers for their crappy behaviors. I'm Sasha, and today we're actually not going to be calling out the influencer. We're going to be calling out the fans. You'll have seen from the title and thumbnail by now that this is going to be a bit of a more sensitive topic. Although we are going to be discussing what happened with Emilie, her family, and the tragedy that they suffered back in May of 2025, the true goal and focus of this video is to take a deep dive into one of the scariest dangers and risks that come when an influencer chooses to post their children on social media. And that is the formation of parasocial relationships. And we're going to discuss why they are so easily formed, especially when children are involved, and how this is a huge problem beyond the influencer just posting their child. I hope to provide an educational video of the outrageous behaviors that we saw following this tragic incident and encourage people to honestly do better. Because at a time that Emilie and her family craved, needed, and deserved privacy, what happened online revealed something that is so deeply unsettling when it comes to influencer culture. The parasocial trap that happens when private lives are perceived as public property, and discuss why personal information, not private information, should be the expected standard. We've got a lot to cover, guys, so let's just get into it. I want to offer a huge trigger warning before we get started. This video is going to contain quite a few sensitive topics, including the loss of a child, and even though that's not the main theme, main focus of this video, it will still be mentioned. And if that's something that you just can't handle right now, please click out and I'll see you in the next one. But I want you guys to take care of you first. I did my best to be as mindful and make this as palatable for everyone, but given the situation and what this is all about, some things need to be mentioned. The rise of Emilie Kiser. Emilie Kiser started on social media like so many other influencers do, posting cleaning hacks, day in the life routines, home decor, and tutorials. And by late 2022, her content absolutely exploded, with many people saying that they really loved Emilie for the way that she delivered her content, her style. It was different from your average Insta beige mom that was flooding our news feeds at the time. Her relatability, her clean girl aesthetic, and young parent lifestyle drew in millions of viewers, and by 2025, she had garnered over 4 million on TikTok and almost 2 million on Instagram. Over the years, as she grew and became a parent, her content grew and shifted into motherhood, a day in the life with a toddler, a newborn, and proudly showcasing her little family that consisted of her husband Brady, her eldest son Trigg, and their newborn baby, Teddy. And of course, their furry family members also made the odd appearance here and there. For many of her followers, Emilie didn't just feel like your average influencer. She felt genuinely like a friend, like that girl next door who invited you into her home and marriage, motherhood, and even into her children's lives. She shared milestones and allowed the audience to bond with her family and grow alongside them, enjoying special moments with them as the boys grew up. But that type of content and closeness often comes with a catch. If you think about a fitness influencer or a beauty influencer, they share workout routines, healthy recipes, and makeup dupes. That bond is more transactional. It's more distant and disconnected from the influencer's everyday life. But with momfluencers, that bond is built and strengthened based on the closeness, especially when kids are involved. It can quickly create a much deeper connection with the influencer, with the children and the audience, thus increasing the risk of parasocial relationships forming. Now, a parasocial relationship is a one-sided relationship where the viewer thinks that they have an actual relationship with the influencer or celebrity. And we're seeing a really scary rise in these parasocial relationships since influencers have become the new celebrities. They allow people into their normal everyday lives, whereas celebrities, the bond is often with the character that they portray. They have that extra layer of privacy and protection. But when fans get to watch a child grow, oftentimes from birth, and enjoy all those special milestones, all those special little moments alongside the parents, well, there's no doubt that that kind of closeness is going to start to form, that people are going to start to care about that child. They laugh along with the funny moments. They cry along with the sad, gut-wrenching moments. And that sense of connection is strengthened, especially when it's daily content. Sometimes multiple times a day as well when we have a platform like TikTok. It is a very slippery slope that family vloggers like to walk along because they want to remain relatable to their audience, almost humanizing themselves. The audience starts to crave that, starts to want that and demand more private information, more content, and they start to fiend for it a little bit. A really alarming thing that I remember in this whole parasocial issue was with Maya Knight's babies. People were so strongly bonded to these babies that they were calling them their babies and getting angry when she wasn't showing their faces anymore. That's not normal behavior. People should be applauding influencers for protecting their children and not showing them online. Yet you have this subsect of people who are criticizing influencers for no longer showing their children. Really weird dynamic to feel entitled to content about someone else's child. They also tend to get worried if the family vlogger stops posting, concerned for the child's well-being. And we also have instances where children have been in scary situations where we've noticed abuse on camera and been able to report it and get those parents investigated, like Nurse Hannah, for example, a few months ago. But when an influencer suddenly goes silent, that is very jarring to their audience and tends to cause a lot of speculation and panic. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. In May of 2025, Emilie Kiser and her family suffered the most tragic, horrific loss imaginable, one that no parent should have to go through ever: the tragedy of Trigg. On May 12th, 2025, tragedy struck the Kiser family. Authorities responded to a drowning incident at the Kiser family home in Arizona. 3-year-old Trigg was pulled from the family pool, and after 6 long, grueling days in the hospital in critical condition, this sweet baby passed away. It's the kind of loss that defies words and the kind of pain that no parent should ever have to endure. And after his passing, Emilie went radio silent, desperately grasping for any semblance of privacy. But the internet did not stop there. In fact, quite the opposite happened. Speculation started, and boy, were they ever intense. The parasocial fallout. For many people who had been following Emilie for years at this point, the grief was shared. They flooded her newsfeed with condolences, prayers, kind, soft words, with comments saying, "When one mama cries, we all cry," and "We love you, Emilie, we're here for you." People poured out with the condolences as if they were suffering the loss of a family member of their own. Which, if we take a step back and think about it, that makes sense. Emilie invited everyone into her home, invited people to grow alongside her and her little family, and allowed them to bond with her children. She set her content up to make it feel like they were friends who were experiencing motherhood together. And that's what you would expect from a friend, right? If your friend in real life suffered something like this, you would pour out with the support. Try to offer whatever you possibly could in that moment to help, even though you know that nothing can possibly make anything better. But on the flip side, some of these parasocial relationships that were built turned into this twisted, outrageous form of entitlement. First, we had supportive comments that started to shift to hypercritical ones, questioning why they didn't have a pool fence, questioning why the patio was fenced in. Valid question, time and place, and asking, demanding where the parents were. Also, valid question, time and place. Some people even went so far as to dig up past real estate listings in Emilie's town and cross-reference it to confirm that it was her son that passed away. Before this woman, this mother, even had a chance to catch her breath and gain her footing after this loss. People were coming in hard with the speculations from left, from right, from center, all over the place. Immediately following this poor baby's passing, over 100 police record reports were filed. Autopsy report requests for the body cam footage or the surveillance footage of the incident. And I want everyone to seriously take a second to consider that and its impacts. A family loses a child, and instead of being allowed to grieve and share their story when they're ready, hundreds of strangers requested this paperwork, the autopsy results, evidence. They wanted to dissect the most tragic moment in Emilie's life. For content to consume as entertainment, I don't understand what was the goal for needing that evidence right away, for needing it at all. And following these requests, Emilie filed a lawsuit to seal the records. And I'm not gonna lie, this is where I had my little twinge of judgment, and I believe it is in large part due to the speculative nature surrounding everything. I got caught up in it for a little bit. I wasn't one that requested the records though. But only because, and I want to make this really clear, I only had that little ew feeling because I remember at the time people were talking about irreparable image damage. Now, I've gone back and confirmed that initially her and her counsel had said irreparable harm, which is totally fair. It would cause disgusting amounts of emotional harm. And at this point, because nothing had been released, nobody knew anything, it kind of felt like she was trying to save her image, save her reputation, which caused people to speculate more. I actually just today saw a great comment saying, doesn't this kind of feel like the Streisand effect? And in some ways, it does, because it got more people talking about the incident. However, there had already been hundreds of requests for the footage of a 3-year-old losing his life. That's not normal behavior. And I've also come to learn that Arizona has a really strict public record policy. And had she not gone and squashed this, sealed any of the records, it's very possible that they could be released. And as a public figure, we all know what's going to happen, or what would happen if those records were released. They would be dissected on the internet, instantly uploaded to TikTok, and play-by-play everything with the minutes, the timestamps. It would be such a horrific mess. And that is information that I don't think benefits the public knowing, especially now that the police report has come out and we know what happened. Nobody needs to see that. And I don't blame Emilie at all for wanting to seal those files. But now, because we had no information, there was no police report, all we knew was that she wanted to seal all the records. So people started speculating, Well, what did Brady do? Because he was the one that was home. We knew Emilie was out for dinner, and there had been people online claiming to be locals saying all of these wild accusatory things, such as Brady was drunk and passed out on the couch, speculating on the amount of time he left Trigg outside and what had caused and happened, and there was all sorts of speculations that were flying around. And this definitely added fuel to that raging fire. And I understand, to an extent, morbid curiosity, but some of these people need to check themselves, because this is a child we're talking about. And no one, I mean no one, should be demanding or expecting access to that kind of information, or wanting it. That isn't empathy. It's parasocial entitlement at its ugliest form. Kids at the center. But here's the uncomfortable truth that no influencer wants to talk about. Trigg did not consent in any of this. He did not and could not consent to his entire life being posted online. Not only that, but nobody, maybe some people, could have expected this kind of response to this incident. The hundreds of record requests to plaster it all over social media, make these people feel even worse, dehumanize them even more. They suffered an unimaginable loss. And we can play hindsight is 2020. They should have done this, they should have done that. But they will suffer every day for the rest of their lives, knowing they could have done more to prevent this. So to throw salt on the wound by releasing this kind of footage all over social media, which is what would happen, is just disgusting. But with Trigg's life being documented from birth, it intensified that attachment to him. So when something tragic happened, people felt outraged and wanted that sense of justice, especially because they knew so little about what had happened. But there was also a lot of harmful speculations that started circulating, like Emilie chose to invest in pool furniture and didn't want a pool fence because of the aesthetic, which no one has been able to find the video where she said that. And that kind of speculation is just harmful and doesn't change anything. And while many people did remain supportive, there were a bunch of people, hundreds of people, who felt that their sense of entitlement deserved to be fed at the expense of a little boy's life. And it just shows how strong and volatile the parasocial relationships formed with children can truly become. People are passionate about children, their safety, their well-being, as they should be. But when passion goes from this caring, safety, security to demanding extremely private and personal information, well, that's where the plot gets lost. The algorithm's role. The issue doesn't just stop at the user or the influencer. No. These social media platforms are to blame in large part for this type of mess, especially TikTok. These speculative TikToks that were released at the beginning of this story fueled this type of frenzy that followed. Why? Because TikTok's algorithm rewards speculative content, tragic content, outrageous content, rage bait, and also grief content. We have seen it time and time again at this point. Rage baiters gaining virality and quickly getting canceled or losing their jobs because of their stupidity. Ash Trevino, Adrielle Sigler, Nurse Hannah all went viral for their rage bait content, and eventually it caught up to them and they got kicked off of their main platforms. And grief content is huge. It is a huge niche of its own, especially when it involves children. And while this type of content can sometimes provide education or even sometimes a sense of solidarity, more often than not, it is just purely exploitative. I don't think I've come across one influencer who's doing it ethically. I'll go ahead and say it again. Kids cannot consent. They can't consent to any of this. And when you have illness or disability or, dying on the table, well, they further can't consent to that being posted online. And the ramifications that can come from that. Period, point blank. We saw people exploiting Emilie's grief. We had her friends posting pictures with necklaces saying Trigg on them before Emilie even had a chance to speak out. People were latching onto it because it's what everyone was talking about at the time. So it was getting the views. And then we have posts like this one. It says, started swim lessons back up and put up a gate we were putting off for a while. Thank you, Trigg, for saving us. Which is just a pure clout goblin post. This baby did not die to save your baby, to be an inspiration. He died because his father was negligent and not watching him. I said what I said. He should have been charged. And I stand strong in that. And I know he's suffering in the most unimaginable way possible. I think Emilie's suffering worse, to be honest. The bigger picture, personal, not private. So, where do we go from here? Well, I think as a whole, influencers, especially family vloggers, really need to hone in on what they keep private and what they choose to share. I think that kids should not be the main focus of your content. And there's a huge difference between passing through while mom's vlogging or dad's vlogging and being the center of the content. Blur faces, blur identifying factors. Don't post in real time. There are so many ways to set boundaries as influencers, even as family vloggers. And audiences as well really need to understand that influencers are human beings who do deserve privacy in some cases. This being one of them. We are not entitled to any further information than what has been publicly released. And the speculations are just harmful at this point. It's not helping anyone. Just pause and think for 1 second if this was actually your friend, your best friend, who just lost their child. Would you immediately ask what happened? I'm sure they'd tell you, but would you if they didn't? Would you demand a police report right away? How about an autopsy report at all? Would you ask your best friend for an autopsy report on their toddler's death? No, you wouldn't. Why? Because that's not your business. It's not your place to know that or have that information. You would respect their grief, their need for privacy, offer support, condolences, a shoulder to cry on if they need. None of us would be sitting there asking invasive questions and demanding answers and demanding all of the details. You just wouldn't, especially in the days following the loss of their child. You wouldn't go demanding all of these facts and informations and reports and stuff. And if you would, well, I don't know. You need to seek therapy or something because that shit ain't right. It's just not right. It's not okay. And finally, after going radio silent for months following the tragedy, people waiting with bated breaths, Emilie Kiser released a statement to the public. Loss of this magnitude feels impossible to put into words. I've spent days, weeks, months trying to find them and also take the time I've needed to digest the loss of my baby. Trigg is our baby and our best friend. The light and spirit he brought into this world was bright, pure, joyful, and undeniable. We miss him every second of every day, and continuing forward often feels unbearable. I never thought we would experience grief in this way or the pain of losing him so suddenly. It's a pain, heartache, and void that no family should ever have to endure. I take full accountability as Trigg's mother. I know I should have done more to protect him. One of the hardest lessons I carry is that a permanent pool fence could have saved his life. and it's something I will never overlook again. I hope amidst this pain, Trigg's story will help prevent other children's and families from suffering the same loss. To our family, we would not be getting through this without you. The support you have given us, the unconditional love, and the way you show up is something we will never be able to repay or thank enough for. We truly have the best and most supportive friends and families who have quite literally carried us through and continue to do so daily. To my audience and the people who have supported us, I cannot thank you enough for the kind messages I have received, for the outpouring of love for our family, and for the support you have brought me in these extremely tough times. The only way through grief is to keep going minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, and every moment since that day, I've done my best to keep picking myself up. When I started on social media in 2021 as a new mom, my goal was to connect with other moms and find a community. I have found that and so much more through all of you. I have found a community, a hobby I love, and a job I am so grateful for. I have always been my authentic self on social media and tried my best to share my everyday life honestly while also being mindful of what I didn't choose to share. I have now seen through this tragedy how relationships online lack boundaries, especially in protecting children's privacy. Moving forward, I will be establishing more boundaries with what I share online. In the future, I hope to be in a place to share more about how I am navigating this grief, but right now, all I can say is thank you for the love, compassion, patience, and space you've given us to grieve. I am more grateful than can ever be expressed. Emilie. Actionable lessons. So, what now? Like Emilie said, setting boundaries and increasing privacy surrounding what is shared about children. Kid-focused content needs to disappear or shift dramatically. We can struggle and share our struggles with motherhood, parenting, growth, kids, behaviors, without giving away every single private detail of our children's lives. There are ways to connect with audiences without exploiting children. We need to focus on keeping children's private information private, blurring faces, names, schools, towns, addresses, especially if you're in the public eye. And we as consumers need to remember that influencers are humans too. Can you imagine how dehumanizing it would be to realize that hundreds of strangers were requesting the footage of your baby drowning? Even if they do let us into their lives, they have a right to share what they want to share and not share what they don't want to share. To a certain extent, if we have, say, a fitness influencer, circling back to that, who got a BBL and is on Ozempic, but is posting that their fitness workouts and their routines and their eating habits are what are giving them their body, that type of deception is not okay. That is inherently harmful and potentially dangerous for their audience, who's going to try and replicate the results, not only physically, but it can take a huge emotional toll on that person. But information immediately following the most tragic loss a human can ever experience, medical updates or diagnoses, procedures, hospital visits, it's a no. We are not entitled to that information and to more than what that person wants to share, even if they share their lives daily. We can be on Reddit and speculate about it, but you're not entitled to that information, and getting angry at someone for not providing it is ridiculous. And I love how people on the Emilie Kiser updates had been clocking these behaviors of like, guys, like, calm the fuck down. So I applaud you people who were making those kinds of posts and telling people to get down off their high horses. These people are going to suffer for the rest of their lives. And finally, platforms need to get a handle on the harmful spread of information following a tragedy. They need to stop incentivizing tragic posts, because those posts going viral causes more clout goblins, like the post we saw earlier, to come out of the woodworks, to leech onto whatever they can, no matter the harms that it's causing to the person involved. And somehow need to get a handle on the misinformation and disinformation that is spread following tragic incidences like this. There were people who were saying Brady was drunk and passed out on the couch. That's not true. He was gambling watching the basketball game, which someone else said, and everyone was like, no, don't speculate. And people were like, oh my God, and running with it. And it was a whole freaking mess, this whole situation. And honestly, I couldn't imagine being Emilie in all of this. She went to dinner with her friends. She trusted her husband to keep her babies safe. And the worst thing happened. Jeez. But the audience is also responsible in part too for the spread of that speculation. There's ways to have discussions in a healthy manner. But when you're speculating with severely accusatory things that you don't know to be fact, that can be harmful for someone. And when it comes to something like this, those kinds of speculations are disgusting displays of morbid curiosity, like the most lowest of the low. And it's a huge issue, especially on TikTok, pushing rage bait content, pushing tragic content that pulls at your heartstrings. Whereas educational content often falls short. It doesn't hit the algorithm the same way that emotion-evoking content does, because people don't care. Whereas speculative content will go viral because you'll have 80 people commenting, this isn't true, this is speculation, this isn't true, this isn't true, this isn't true, which is just boosting it further into the algorithm. And with a platform full of literal walking clout goblins, people who are so desperate for any kind of online attention, good, bad, doesn't matter, desperate for their viral moment, for hitting that algorithm, that dopamine hit, no matter if it's harmful or hateful or hurtful. Well, those are the people that come out of the woodworks and start spreading the speculations and misinformation for their own sick, twisted gain. This whole story isn't about the audience. And poor baby Trigg got lost in the midst of people demanding information, in the lawsuit, in the everything. He got lost in the blame for his parents. And everyone seems to forget that a little boy was taken from Earth way too soon. Grief should not be made into content, nor should people expect content out of it. This is a prime example of just how far gone humans are. We have completely lost our sense of humanity. And this is a multi-level issue that is probably never going to be solved, and it certainly will not be an easy one to solve. It'll take a collective effort from influencer to audience to platform to stop this kind of thing from happening again. But we can get there if we take a step back into reality and remember that these people are human beings. They're a mother and a father too. Just because they're in the public eye and you have an idea about them doesn't make your idea or your perception correct. And I've said in the past that I absolutely hate this saying, but some people in this case seriously need to go touch grass. Like, just log off of Reddit, lock your phone in a safe for like a week and a half and go just be in nature. Because to feel entitled to the footage of a little boy drowning, his autopsy and death details is beyond disgusting. I truly appreciate you joining me for today's video. Thank you to those who made it to the end. I know this was a heavier one. It's been heavy on my heart for a while, and I don't think what Emilie was put through is okay. I think that like I said, humans have completely lost the plot, and we need to reel it back in. Hug your babies extra tight tonight, because anything can change in a moment's notice. And please, if anything, take pool safety seriously. It takes 2 minutes for a child to drown. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys. He had a little nap, so now he's awake and wanting a hug. Try and get some purse? Not really, just rub right up against it. He's licking my neck. Hi, babies. Where are you going? Oh, you're just gonna be front and center. Hey? What are you doing, Mick? Are you gonna lie down on your blankie? Here, I'll bunch it up. Create like a little bed. Come here. Come on. Come on. Mickey. Oh, big scratches. It's so funny because he was lying down next to me the whole time I was doing my makeup. And then I finally finish up and he's like, hey, I want kisses now. So he has lipstick all over his forehead. Okay, you gonna lie down? Oh, he's gonna make some biscuits for a minute. Oh, there's so much cat fur everywhere now. But I guess we'll get started. He's just gonna make some biscuits while we discuss.